Okay, where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Ron.
Ron is here. Welcome back, everybody, for more SPTV, where every day is a great day not to be in a cult. Guys, this isn't even breaking news because this news has not yet broken. This has not been announced by the city yet. This has not been announced in the news. But word is Clearwater, Florida City Attorney David Margolis is resigning. And this is all over the battle with David Miscavige and Scientology. And David Margolis has been the staunchest defender of the people of the city of Clearwater and their rights not to have their city taken over by a family-destroying international human trafficking cult. And David Margolis has been standing up to David Miscavige and Scientology's efforts to force the city to give Scientology a street we all know they don't need. And David Margolis has been fighting this battle alongside Mayor Bruce Rector and City Council member Lena Teixeira. And they have been fighting this battle against Scientology, but standing with Scientology has been Clearwater City Council members Michael Menino, Ryan Cotton, and now David Albritton. By the way, David Albritton and Ryan Cotton, father-in-law, son-in-law, shouldn't be allowed, but it is. Okay, it's too much to try to explain the entire history of this issue in this update. So I'm just going to try to do the superficial version. Florida Attorney General James Uthmeier, before he became Florida Attorney General, ran a couple political action committees that received millions of dollars from the wealthiest Scientologist in the world, Trish Duggan. Trish Duggan and her ex-husband, Bob Duggan, are together the only Scientology billionaires in the world. They're divorced now. Trish got a bunch of the money. I'm sure Bob has more money than Trish, but Bob hasn't really publicly been donating to Scientology. Trish is the one who's been getting up on stage, accepting all the big trophies, getting all the big awards for donating all the money. Combined, they've probably donated about $500 million to Scientology. Trish Duggan is also one of the largest donors to the Trump administration. She was even thanked in person, thanked by name by Trump a few months ago at an event. So Trish Duggan's money is Scientology's money. And I heard from someone very well connected locally in politics about 6 months ago that there had actually recently become a pretty large rift in the state level Republican Party. A very prominent rift between those willing to accept Trish Duggan's money and forward Scientology's agenda and those unwilling to accept Scientology's money, Trish Duggan's money, and forward Scientology's agenda. James Uthmeier, Florida Attorney General, is very clearly on the side of taking Trish Duggan's money and forwarding Scientology's agenda. Okay, what does the Florida Attorney General have anything to do with this at all? A short while back, the Clearwater City Council had to take two separate votes to authorize this sale of a street to Scientology. The first vote went in favor of Scientology. Then there was massive public outrage. David Albritton was the swing vote. There's 5 members of the Clearwater City Council. David Albritton was the swing vote. First, he voted to sell the street to Scientology. Then he voted not to sell the street to Scientology. Then the issue was dead. What happened is Scientology's lobbyists got the Florida Attorney General, James Uthmeier, to write a letter to Clearwater, Florida Mayor Bruce Rector, warning him that if it turned out that the city council was making its decisions based on religious discrimination, that would be under the purview of the Florida Attorney General's office, and they would have to do something about it. didn't use the word Scientology, didn't make any direct accusations. It was just a warning. And it was a letter directly to Bruce Rector. It wasn't a letter to the entire city council. It was just to Bruce. And it was probably in response to some specifically worded statements that Mayor Bruce Rector had made at one of the prior city council meetings. Okay. So this sort of sent a shot across the bow that the Florida Attorney General was paying attention, and that decisions had better be made according to what was legally justifiable and not based on any particular animus against Scientology. Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, the Florida Attorney General has absolutely no jurisdiction whatsoever over this issue of a potential sale of a city street to a private party. And the Clearwater, Florida's city attorney, David Margolis, had met individually with each one of the city council members and had told them crystal clear what his advice and opinion and position was as the attorney for the city. And he issued this in a 30-page memo, which tomorrow or the next day, I actually really should take the time to sit down and go through it and figure out which parts to highlight and to do a video about it. But David Margolis' 30-page memo could not have been more clear that Scientology's position was wrong. The city had every right to control this street. The city did own the street. Scientology was wrong. Scientology's attorneys were wrong. And yet Clearwater City Council member David Albritton, whose son is very clearly working for Scientology, whose son-in-law, Ryan Cotton, city council member, very clearly working for David Miscavige and Scientology. David Albritton, without any coordination and without any approval, wrote a letter a few weeks ago directly to the Florida Attorney General asking for his opinion and guidance on this issue. And at a recent city council meeting that I did not have the opportunity to cover because I was in jail, Mayor Bruce Rector absolutely raked David Albritton over the coals for the impropriety and improper procedure of asking the Florida going behind the back of the council, behind the back of the mayor, and asking the Florida Attorney General for an opinion about which the Florida Attorney General has absolutely no jurisdiction whatsoever. There is the Florida Attorney General is not a trier of facts in this case. There is no case in any court or before any judge regarding this sale of this street. It was totally improper. And I said at the time, the only reason David Albritton asked Florida Attorney General James Uthmeier for an opinion on this is because he already knew the opinion James Uthmeier was going to give him, because James Uthmeier is funded by Scientology money through Trish Duggan. The Scientologists already knew what James Uthmeier would say. David Albritton already knew what James Uthmeier would say. David Albritton asked for this opinion, even though it has no standing whatsoever, so that he could use the Florida Attorney General's opinion to justify voting yes in Scientology's favor in the next vote. I'm told James Uthmeier was in town in Clearwater, Florida yesterday. And coincidentally, David Margolis decides to resign yesterday. The official reason will be that David Margolis needs to spend more time with his family. His father's in hospice, blah, 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 blah. The actual reason is that Scientology and the Florida Attorney General brought enough pressure to bear on David Margolis in one way or another to force him out, because David Margolis's 30-page letter was horrible for David Miscavige and Scientology, and therefore would be horrible for James Uthmeier, who then decided to wade in on this issue, directly contradicting David Margolis, Clearwater, Florida's own city attorney. David Margolis will, without any question, be replaced with a city attorney that is a little more favorable to David Miscavige and Scientology. And this is a victory for David Miscavige and Scientology. Without citing any sources, I've got one person saying that their contacts at the city told them that David Margolis was advised to resign because of the Scientology Garden Avenue issue. It is bad optics to have David Margolis stay on as the city attorney because his brilliant legal advice was unfortunately in direct contrast to the advice from the Florida Attorney General. Now, guys, the Florida Attorney General has no jurisdiction over the city attorney in any way, shape, or form. The city attorney does not answer to the Florida Attorney General. So I actually personally don't understand how all these pieces fit together. I don't understand why David Margolis would give a damn what James Uthmeier thinks about anything to do with this. I don't understand how all the chess pieces fit, on the board here. Another piece of insightful feedback. Let me see here. Bottom line, David Margolis' 30-page report on South Garden Avenue was such a damning checkmate for Scientology's claim of ownership that Scientology figured out a way to break David Margolis. They will now look to replace him through a more favorable city attorney that will discard David Margolis' 30-page report. I cannot wait to see what happens at the next city council work session and the next city council meeting. It seems like Mayor Bruce Rector and hopefully still Lena Teixeira will be left to fight this battle on their own. I think David Albritton's already gone back over to Scientology's side. I guess we will have to see how this actually plays out. By the way, why does Scientology want this street? I'll tell you why they want this street. Scientology has been planning on building L. Ron Hubbard Hall for about 25 years now. Yeah, that's right. Scientology is so poor at planning and fundraising that it has taken them 25 years to build an event hall, and they haven't even broken ground on it yet. But they were supposed to break ground this past summer, and they didn't. In the 25 years they've been talking about L. Ron Hubbard Hall, not once did they ever mention needing the street to own the street in front of L. Ron Hubbard Hall, which is one block of South Garden Avenue. What made Scientology decide all of a sudden they needed this street? I'll tell you what made them decide it. It's been the nonstop weekly protests in downtown Clearwater outside the Flag Land Base by all the members of the Clearwater crew. They were like, damn, these guys aren't going to stop protesting, are they? Nope. Well, if we're building a massive event hall, that's going to be the new home of every single major international live David Miscavige event, we sure as hell can't have these guys able to protest on the public sidewalk in front of our building every time David Miscavige is there. So all of a sudden, Scientology came to the city and said, it's actually not possible for us to do this project without owning the street for the public safety. It's the public safety we have in mind. It's just another effort by Scientology to prevent protesters from engaging in constitutionally protected, peaceful protesting outside of Scientology facilities. And the Florida Attorney General himself, James Uthmeier, is helping them forward their agenda. It is absolutely disgusting. It is a total disgrace. Ryan Cotton is a disgrace. Michael Menino is an absolute disgrace. And if David Albritton folds on this and votes for Scientology to get their way, David Albritton is an absolute disgrace. I guess we'll see in the next week or two how this goes. Let's look at some starred comments. Eyes on the state. Holy shit. That's right. That's right, Bill. Say it with me. Holy shit. Vicky says, who else feels like Rod Serling will appear anytime now? I don't know who that is. Northern Girl, this is so messed up. So let me guess. The new city attorney will be in Scientology's pocket. Old Man Survival. What would happen if all the politicians in Clearwater would resign? Or if all the non-Scientologists who live in Clearwater were to move out? Lori Marie, that city is doomed. Too many refuse to get involved and have allowed the cult to take over. Northern Girl, this is so maddening. The corruption is brutal. Sandra-san. Sandra-san. How many streets have been given up or sold in Clearwater in the past? I don't know. Megan is a cat. This street business is bananas. David Miscavige is like a cartoon villain. He has to have this street so he doesn't have to deal with any negativity. So much for Scientology tech being able to fix communication. Dorky McDork. I have a bad feeling that the city attorney wants to move up in the political world, and that is why he decided to resign. I don't think so, but we'll see. Farrell Cheryl. They need to bring back public comment. Yes. JMT. Wow. What a sad day for justice and the First Amendment. Canned peaches are good. Meanwhile, at St. Hill, Scientology is screwing with local council there and saying they need to tear up 12 acres there to build space for the IS event that they are also saying needs to be in Clearwater. That's actually a very, very good point. When L. Ron Hubbard Hall is finished, they will be holding the IIS event in Clearwater, Florida. Guys, you know there's no reason to hold the IIS event in St. Hill, England. The IIS was not founded in England. I don't know why the IIS event is held in England. I don't even remember the reason they tried to explain it to us in Scientology. Yeah, it doesn't actually make any sense at all. Eyes on the State says, oh boy, this next meeting is going to be fun. Yeah. And now that I'm out of jail, I can go. All right, guys, I'm sure we will be getting a lot more news about this tomorrow. I'll do updates on this as we have more information. Like I said, this news hasn't even broken, but there you have it. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not,